Jon Gruden's scandal was a top NFL
Oh.
headlines back in 2021. But could a team like the Giants ever consider him again? And yeah, like I said, listen, Jon Gruden's is the topic that I try to walk around a little bit there a bit freely because I don't want to say the wrong thing, get myself in trouble. But let's talk about Jon Gruden as a coach for a second, and then we'll get into the whole controversy that comes around with Jon Gruden.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jon Gruden was the Raiders coach from 98 to 2001, turned that whole franchise around. Was probably the only guy to succeed with the older version of Al Davis. Like, Al Davis in the 70s was like a force in the AFL, NFL era. John Davis, I'm sorry, John Davis. Al Davis in the 90s. Yeah, he was like Al Davis in the 90s was point blank the guy that you like was like almost like Jerry Jones now. You're like, dude, you gotta walk away. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
that's where he was. But Gruden point blank turned that whole franchise around. Goes then to the Buccaneers, takes over for Tony Dungy there, wins the Super Bowl there. And the crazy thing is, you talk to people that he coached, and they love him. And I'm gonna work again. I don't think it's my place to go over some of the stuff he said because of where I'm at, but there are people that are part of groups that he supposedly talked bad about in the emails that love him still too as well. Is that the best way to word it for me? Probably. I'm trying to keep myself out of trouble here. Like,
Probably.
yeah.
Listen, I
Well, hold on, but we're going to talk about the coaching part. I'm just saying, like, people loved him that as far as that were coaches. We'll get to the lawsuit and all that stuff in a minute here. He's got no really connection to the Giants. The Giants did beat him in 2007 in the wild card round when he was the head coach for the Bucs. Had to throw that in there because that was a Super Bowl win for us. He goes back into TV, and by the way, he's hilarious on TV. He's absolutely hilarious, and Frank Caliendo, the comedian, I love who he has his reputation. His rendition of him there and does that his voice. It's hilarious. But you go back to coaching. You coach for a couple of years in the Raiders again now in Vegas, and point blank, like it gave him like a ridiculous amount of money to get him to come back. Insane amount of money to come back.
Wow. What was that? 10 years, 10 million a year?
Yeah, like for a coach, that's unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. And you look at what that contract was, the Raiders weren't exactly happy with what they got. It wasn't like he rebuilt that team all over again. And so to give you the quick of it here, the Raiders weren't even part of this. This is a Commanders thing. The Commanders were point blank being investigated because their owner, who we all know is a piece of crap, let's be honest. Not even beat around the bush here. You can say what you want for your end, Rob. I don't like to speak for you, but he was a piece of crap, I'll say it.
Piece of poop.
So there was a whole thing out because of all the issues he had, issues with cheerleaders and all kinds of stuff at that point there. NFL investigated. They started pulling literally every single email from the Washington Commanders, Redskins, Washington football team, whatever the hell the names they were at that times. A bunch of emails came up between Jon Gruden and Bruce Allen, who was the GM. In those emails, Jon Gruden said some really bad things. He said things that were considered racist, homophobic, all those kind of things there. I got to say this the way, and I might get myself in some trouble for saying it, but I don't care. I'm just going to be very frank, and I try to be always honest with you guys here. I think if every single private conversation got out there, we'd all be in trouble. Now, would I say the things he said? No. But I'm just saying, I think if everything came out that we ever said in private, we didn't think the public would ever see, we'd all be in trouble.
That's fair. That's fair. But there's a difference between like joking around and how things were said.
Oh, that's why I'm saying it definitely. I'm not saying it
It's
didn't cross the line. I'm just saying I feel like there's a lot of people in glass houses that throw stones in these scenarios too.
yeah. Yeah, you're 100% right. It's just if Huda came out like so say like if his emails were to Tim Dillon, a comedian that is known for raunchy humor, and that's how they spoke, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But this is to a GM talk about players and staff around the league, and there was no comedic value to it. Like he just straight up was raunchy in his explanations of like how he was talking about different players, different personnel, and that's a hard it's a hard line to get back from.
Yeah. And
And I hear what you're saying, but
you know, part of what it is, I don't know the relationship between Bruce Allen and Jon Gruden to really judge the whole thing either. Like, let's be honest, we all have friends that we talk about and talk to and say stuff we shouldn't say. That's the one person in our life we would say this to because we're good. You know what I mean? Like they know we're just joking around. They don't take it too serious. But again, he took it too far. And I'll say this point blank. I will always have said this. Never put anything in writing you don't want seen publicly. Even if it's an email, text message, whatever, because you never know when it's going to come out there. Never.
yeah.
So, like I said, I there's a lot of things he said point blank that were horrendous. Horrendous. And things that I would not say. When I say I said things that would get me in trouble, I'm not saying the stuff he said. Let me be very clear on that.
He said way worse.
You know, my whole thing is I think you'd have to have the conversation with him. You know, has he learned from this? Has he grown from this? You know, and it's funny because I think the older generations at that point, you know, and like cool, like me and you, Robin, up. Like there was a lot of things. Let's be very frank that we said as kids that you couldn't say nowadays.
Yeah. Like just look at movies that 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
You're not getting away with saying now or talking about now.
So my whole thing is, has he grown from this? Has he learned from this? Because like he said some things, for example, that are very clearly considered racist, and I understand why they're considered racist 100%. But he's got a lot of players that he played for him that were black that don't seem to have a problem with him either. So and they came to his defense even when it happened. So it's like, you know, I don't know. And this is why I say I got to speak very carefully on this part, really, because it's like, for me as a white guy, it's not my place to have an opinion on this stuff, if that makes sense. Like, it's not my role. That's a
It,
conversation with him and the groups that are upset about it, if that makes sense, you know?
to a point. If we're talking about hiring as a head coach, I don't know how offensive things were. I know from my side how offensive they could come across the sound. But if we're talking about hiring this guy, it's a conversation we need to have. Like,
Yeah. Especially in New York.
yeah.
That's you want to talk about a situation that's bad to have that in. You know,
Gruden.
it's one thing for him to go to like Texas and have that.
Yeah, way different.
Yeah. But like I said, I think it's something that unfortunately it's just we got to have the conversation about it. And you got to have it in a private setting at that point. Find out what he's learned from. Talk to people that know him. Find out, is there actually hate in his heart, or is this just a guy that made jokes that, quite frankly, he shouldn't have made and aren't funny?
Yeah. In bad taste. Yeah.
Yeah, point blank. So, like I said, I just don't know where to put him at. 'Cause I don't know the guy personally,
Yeah.
but
Is
beyond
he
that,
Mel Brooks or is he American History X?
yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Mel Brooks did plenty of things to get him in trouble too, you know.
Well, that's the
But
difference of Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs 2.
well, wasn't Blazing Saddles written by Richard Pryor, or was he involved in the writing?
I think he was, yeah.
I thought so. So because obviously there's that word in there many times, but
Yeah.
um, you know, and I think a lot of the reason why people are talking about Jon Gruden is specifically because of also the Jackson Dart thing. He loves Jackson Dart. Like we all saw the video when he went to Gruden's camp because now Gruden's working for Barstool Sports and does that with them now.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love those segments. They're awesome because I just love the passion that Jon Gruden has for the game. Like, you ever see that thing where he just opens up the boxes of crap teams send him to? Like, the excitement this man has. He's like a kid on a Christmas morning, and he's 61, by the way. Not even young anymore. Or 62, sorry.
Yeah.
But he's got that kind of like excitement to him, and football just excites him. And that's why I think people like the guy so much. But again, that's a big issue to overcome. And I also think he's been out of the league for so long that his time is probably past. I mean, think about it. It's been 4 years since that situation.
I go back and forth with that. Like you just said yourself, the passion and the love for the game.
Yeah.
It's there.
And
you see it. It's there. Dark. It's there. He sees it. Just because he's not a coach in the league right now, is he that far removed of being a coach in this league? Like, maybe not. Maybe he just was pushed away. He still stews on a pot of ideas.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I think that you have to, as an organization, be okay with, I don't say okay with the comments, but okay with what's happened since the comments. Has he learned from it? Has he done the proper apology tour and stuff like that and grown from it? Because like I said, again, I think if most people, if we go back there's definitely skeletons in everybody's closets to a certain degree.
Yeah, you definitely have to look at the
fact that he's still got a lawsuit going on with the NFL. Like they still, because they're alleging an internal leak to force his ouster. Now, I haven't heard much details what he's alleging exactly, but it's weird because you got to think if the NFL was doing things to force his ouster, that means the Raiders wanted him gone. Because it wasn't like the NFL was like, we don't like Jon Gruden. Like that, they don't care who's the head coach there. Let's be honest. You know, like that's just what it is. But he had a 3-0 record when he got let go in 21. He had a 7-9 record with the Raiders the year before that. So technically, he was over 500 in his, one game and a couple games otherwise. So, I don't know what, like I said, I think the personality is an issue. I think that's safe to say, even taking out the issues of what he said and everything in the emails, because again, it's horrendous enough on its own, but it's like, I think the personality is an issue.
Yeah, this is very brash.
Yeah. And that's not going to work with Mara. That's not going to work with Mara or the other Maras and the 10,000 Maras that work for the Giants. So I think that's pretty much a no-go.
Thanks for watching. Like the show? Of course you do, or you would have turned it off by now and not be hearing me. There are plenty of ways to support the show. YouTube is the best place to join us, and we offer memberships there with fun benefits like custom emojis and early access to video clips. Of course, there you can also send super chats and stickers to send one-time support payments. The best way to support the show is to buy these drunk idiots beers at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Along with one-time support payments, there are also monthly plans, so you can continue to help kill their livers each month. You can also show people that you are a goofball by visiting our store at 2giantgoofballs-shop.fourthwall.com. We got everything from shirts, hats, phone cases, funny candles, buttons, stickers, and even a 2 Giant Goofballs towel to dry off your goofballs. Of course, you can always support the show for free by simply hitting the like, subscribe, and share button wherever you are watching or listening to this. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps the show tremendously, and quite frankly, the goofballs suck at marketing and need your help to get the word out. Thank you for being part of the Goofball Army and for taking the time out to support the show.
If you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you.